Mario, once again, working on this 2S LiPo RC Ultralight. This is the one based on the MIA Quicksilver style RC Ultralight, just another version in smaller scale. This one is 36-inch wingspan. It's another model in the same scale as the blue one that I have been showing in some other videos. I did a flight at about 3 in the morning the other day, just a couple nights ago. You can watch that video if you want to see how these models fly. When it's a little bit calm, it was a little windy, a little breezy when I filmed that, but I managed to get a flight for that video. But anyway, this is going to be even better than that model because it has a little more refined control with these ailerons, the addition of these ailerons. So I've been working on the structures for the ailerons. I just completed this morning as I was having breakfast. Typically, what I do, when I wake up in the morning, if it happens to be one of those days that I wake up early in the morning, but most of the time I work late. And so these are the ailerons. You can see how fluid the function is of the ailerons, and it's because they're hinged just like the full scale ones are hinged. Here's my control horn right here, and I have to work a little bit more on the differential control so that it connects to the ailerons, so that I don't employ two servos here. Employing two servos here would be a little bit overkill because it would be heavier than just having one servo controlling in a differential mode the aileron. So that's what I'm planning on doing here. I'm just going to add one more servo to the original two servo operation that I had before for the rudder and elevator. And so that's going to it's going to add a little more weight, and that's the reason why I went with this 36-inch wingspan. Is just to get a little more weight into the model. So I'm going to be working on the differential system here for the ailerons. And you can see how I already have connected the control rod here. If I can, where is that control rod? Right there, or control link. So the control link is already there. And see if I can do this with one hand, and you can see how the the aileron works right there, nice and fluid. I do have to cover these ailerons, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Once I work out the differential control, the rest of the control system for this for working the ailerons, I'll come back and then cover the ailerons. But it's pretty much complete as far as the structure for the ailerons and the complete assembly of this aircraft is concerned. The lighting system that I've been working on, as I also mentioned some other videos, but I may as well talk about that in this video, as sort of kind of give you a little more complete view of my models. These are the little parts that I have been working on that I show in some short videos. You can go watch those videos if you want to find out what these things look like with the LEDs. These are the all the lens, all the LED lens covers. These are actually lenses. Let me see if I can focus in a little more here. And they are printed in clear PLA, just for the sake of getting something to mimic the lenses, and they work pretty good actually. Let me pause this video and then connect one to the battery here. I have my battery support right here that I also show in some other videos, short videos. This is something new that I'm doing with this model. As a complete assembly with the base plate here. This base plate is also a support. It braces the triangulation of the bottom section of the frame, nice and firm. And it also houses the battery. This houses a 2-cell LiPo battery, and it's got provisions for a front LED here. Something that I thought I throw in, considering that the little boards that I'm going to be using here for the navigation lights is a full navigation light system control. That little board is just a half-inch by a half-inch. It's really tiny. It uses actually it uses a tiny processor to do all the sequencing of the lights. It's something a little more compact than the ones that I've been showing just with regular components. You can see those videos as well. If you go to my shorts section and just look through the videos there if you care to watch that. But let me pause this video and connect one of the LED lights, and hopefully this video will catch that effect with the LED on one of these lenses. Okay, I have temporarily attached this LED to the battery here, just one of the cells here, to display this light here inside this lens that I'm talking about. These clear lenses. They're not really clear. They're more translucent, but they don't diffuse the light so much, but they do allow the light to of the LED to go right through, and at night it's even better. So I just turned off my lights here so we can appreciate the light. This is a nice blue because it is using a blue LED. And this video is probably going to show just like a white light because that's just the way the videos come out when you film LEDs. But it is a nice blue. Let me post this again now that you've seen the effect here, and turn it back on. Okay, turn my lights back on. And so this is one of the lenses. You can see this one has a teardrop shape, and these are supposed to go on the ends of my wingtips here. There, before I had the LEDs mounted, just stock raw LEDs mounted at the corners here of the wingtips. The green, the red at these points right here, the red here, and the green on the other side. And then I had a strobe on this side right here, and of course the strobes at the back on my other 2S LiPo RC Ultralight. And so doing these lenses, it just gives it a little more realism. You can see these are the beacon lenses here. You can see those. One of them is just a cylinder, and then the other one's more hexagon shape. I've also done these little lights here, and that one is just a reflector. I actually coated one of these with a reflective paint on the surface here, so that I can use these as my landing lights. These are supposed to replace these here that I have installed here. These are just press fit there. So this light will go right there, you know, with some white LEDs reflectors. So these are my lenses, you know, for this particular project, nice and in scale. And so this is where I'm at with this particular project. As working on this, I'm doing videos, just progress videos to show the progress of this particular project. The tires here, as I mentioned in some other videos, are not the final tires. They're just tires that I had kind of from pieces. You know, when I cut these tires, I have leftovers, and so I just use those leftovers and kind of just put it on the drill press and made them a little bit smaller. But they're not done with the tooling that I typically use for making tires, so they're a little bit rough. So I am going to do those properly, but I just wanted to get the base. I did those so that I can get the base ready to build the structure here, and so that gave me the starting point for the base, because that's the way I assemble my models. I assemble with the base, and that's if you have one of my 1/5 quarter scale RC Ultralight models, the MIA Quicksilver style, in the instructions you'll know that it's as well as my other micro lights, ultralights, auto gyros. That's how I start. I start with the base first and then build from that, which is the logical thing to do when you're building models of this nature. And so I follow the same steps religiously, so that everything comes out nice and precise. I also have the rods here. This is something I've done this before in some very, very early models when I started building this Quicksilver style RC Ultralight. When I started building my foamy, the 5th scale one. But I've done the controls. I used to sell some kits even for the GWS. Slow stick conversion kits, for the ultralights. I used to sell them with a plate here where you would mount the servos at the plate on the bottom of the frame, and have the links controlling the rear of the rear elevator and router. So right here you can see that that rod is controlling that control surface, and I have the the elevator right here and the rudder right here. So I'm going to be designing a plate here, just like I had on my original ones, way many years ago. I mean, we're talking about more than a couple decades ago. And I had where I had the plate, for the servos, for the rear control surfaces. So I'm going to be building a similar plate here. I'm not sure if I'm going to put it on the bottom or right here. I think it's going to be more so right here on this section right here. And then where the pilot sits, this is my very lightweight pilot. It should clear the servos because they're going to be facing downward, and the control links will be underneath. So it's going to be really nice. The other thing about this is that it brings the weight forward, where this model really needs it, because I did add a little more length to the model. The typical Quicksilver aircraft is very compact, very short in the tail, from the center line, from the center of from the CG to the very end of the tail, and it's compact, to bring the weight forward, so you don't have too heavy of a model. And this one, in models, you can massage those things to your liking. Actually, the shape of this one is really nice from the side, and it's because I elongated that section, so it looks really cool. Just right. I mean, this would be the aircraft that is satisfying all those little nuances in detail that I'm very keen on. And so I just got it just perfect. The other thing is the height. I increased the height from the blue one that I show in some other videos, and I also increased the length, so it's coming out really cool. It's surprising how very subtle changes sometimes make a huge difference in the aesthetics of the aircraft, and also the aerodynamic response. And so all these items that all these components that I'm going to be adding more towards the front are going to compensate for that slightly tail heavy tendency. As you can see, it wants to sit at the back, and that's because I don't have the motor here mounted. I don't have the servos used to go before here on the other one. So with the servos here and the motor here, that should really bring this down, and I don't have to. And it already has the battery there. I don't have to add additional weight. And one of the things that it's one of my pet peeves is when I see models and people add weight, add lead or washers or metal, to the front of the aircraft to compensate to compensate so that they get the balance point just right. That to me is a sign that the model was not properly designed. You should have all those things already figured out when you design the model, and I'm very keen on those things, because I look at these things. I go to sleep thinking of how I can improve some of these things if it needs improvement. So I'm just one of those people that is very anal about those things, and I hope that my videos can show that. If you have one of my models, you'll probably be able to see a little bit of the way my mind works in terms of assembly components, just the way I build things. So. But I like to say these things not so much to boast my ego, as I've said in many videos. Some people mistake that this guy thinks he's all that. No, by no means. Because there are so many ways to do these things, and this is just my way of doing things. I mean, other people build with other methods, other ways, and other approaches, and that's fine. But this is my method, and what I'm showing you here is with all honesty and intent and purposes. So this is where I'm at, and I just thought I'd give you a little more insight on how I approach these things, how I build my models, and my mind has been on making a kit of this, because I have received emails. Let me put it this way, from people. Unfortunately, people don't put comments in my comments. I wish they would, more than just send me a private email. When it deals with things that I think are that more people should be exposed to. If you want. For example, are you going to make this into a kit type question? Would be more valid, in the comments than a private email. I do request private emails, when it comes to pricing, because that's a little more personal as I do these things on a personal basis, especially the larger ones. They're more customized, so I can't quote you a fixed price because I don't know, how you want the model. So, and that's the way I've been selling my models, and it's been just fine, for the past 25 years. I mean, I do have pricing on my website for the ones that are standard, but if you want something a little more customized, that requires a little more consideration to materials and work, then I have to quote you separately for that, and I prefer it that way. So, but the point was that I have had requests for, am I going to turn this into a kit? And part of this process that I'm going through in the design and the showing of these videos is part of that process. In a sense, I'm kind of gauging myself, to see, how much work is involved in these things, and you can also see how much work is involved because I'm kind of sharing these things very openly, with the viewers. What is required, to assemble this way, and you can see how much effort, you need to employ in something like this if you want to get the same result. This is a very, very nice model. And it will fly even better than that other blue one that I was flying at 3 a.m. because of these extra features that I'm employing here. A little more control on the control surfaces with these ailerons, and it's got a larger wingspan, and it's very, very lightweight. The way that I build it here and the way that it should be apparent, if you have a keen eye for these things. And not even, just the structure. It's a very lightweight model, and I've always liked ultralights back from the 70s. I go as far as back at the 70s. When the hang gliding revolution started to take place. So I'm from that. I come from that world, and I noticed back in those years that nobody was selling a radio controlled model of these ultralights, microlights that were coming out to the scene back in those years. And so as I was going to school, and I graduated from school, and I went to work for for a large company, in the corporate world, I kept thinking, I kept searching and not finding manufacturers, they were doing anything with respect to ultralights, microlights, and so that's where I embarked on that. Along with that, I started doing micro helicopters because that was another area that was very obscure. Helicopters have existed, very bulky gas models, large models, even before then, I think. And but I wanted something small, compact, electric, clean. Something that people could fly in the comfort of their home. And eventually, throughout the years, I actually did some of those very early kits, and then some other companies started producing them, and then I started producing upgrades for that, basically revamping my original designs to sell them as upgrade parts for all the influx of micro helicopters that were coming, from China. So yeah, that's that's how far I go back as far as these things. So if you ever wonder, if this is something that I'm doing new, no, it's not. I've been my mind and my just my experience with these things goes way back. So all that effort is translated into what you're seeing here in the form and the reasons and the logic and all that stuff that goes behind these things. So hopefully you'll appreciate that. And like I said, I am considering a kit because it is a nice model, and I would like to share that with the public in terms of a kit, just to basically solidify just the persona and the character of MIM Microflight. With the larger stuff that I've done, people already know what those things look like. I just posted two videos of a customer flying both the 5th scale and the 1/4 scale RC Quicksilver style RC ultralights. This particular customer of mine bought the 5th scale, the 1/4 scale, and then he asked me if I could build a 1/2 scale. So I sold him some parts, to help him out with that build, and that should be coming up next because he's almost done with that assembly. I also have that model, and it's sitting right there. You can see the ribs are already done. The sail, the wing sails are also done, but I have to put pockets for the ribs. Once that's done, I'm going to take this model out and do a full show and tell a video on that, because this model is huge. But you can see the stuff that basically the same thing in different scale. And so getting back to this particular size and possibility of a kit, yes, that is in the back of my mind, and the reason why I'm doing these things and cleaning this up. If not for me, then it's more aimed for a kit, because I want people to be able to assemble these things with with a little more ease. It is not meant for everybody. This is not something that you put together in one night. It's something that because of all these little parts, although I made these parts very logical in the not only in the way I assemble them as part trees. So for example, this section right here is the elevator section. This one has other parts that I've already taken out, because I print these in multiples, so that if I mess up on one part, I can use the other part. At least for until I get this just right, because sometimes these parts need to be massaged in the geometry and the design in CAD, and then make them the tolerances of the fit is very important. It can't be too loose and it can't be too tight, so these rods go in there nice and snug. And the way I've been achieving that is by making the parts just enough, with enough tolerance, so that I can come back with a drill and just clean up the entry holes, just enough for the parts, for the carbon rods to fit in and nice and snug. And then once the test fit is done, as I mentioned in some other videos, you want to make sure, especially when you work on a symmetrical airframe such as this one, the symmetry has to be just right, because if you are off, not enough deep into the pocket hole of this connectors, the geometry is going to be skewed. So that's something very, very important to keep in mind, when building things like that. And I think people that have built small models, they already know that. This is more of a just one of those details that needs to be said regardless. As many times, it's better to say it more times than not enough. So this is where I'm at with this kit, the MIA Microflight 2S LiPo Quicksilver style RC Ultralight. And once I get done with all the rest of these parts, complete the mechanical section here, as I mentioned, with the differential aileron system that I'm working on. I have to design that. Now that I have all these parts together, now I can design the system that will connect to the links to the ailerons. And from there, once I get that done, I'll be installing the full navigation lights. So stay tuned for the continuation of this project, because it's not going anywhere. Mario once again with MIA Microflight. Thanks a lot for watching.